All right, this one's for the really hardcore. If you're serious about getting healthier, fitter, or improving your athletic performance, this one's for you. It's a bit lengthy, but see it through to the end. Oh no. No, wait, don't turn off yet because this matters. Auditing yourself is the single most beneficial thing you can do to improve your health, fitness, and athletic performance. It's something you could do right now. And here's a consistent statement. Look this one on a big review paper, looking at how auditing yourself, reviewing your plan, reviewing what you're doing, optimizes your performance. And we have this study, large study in elite athletes, and they go through all the different areas that you can investigate in your life and in your training. But let's talk about what an audit really is, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to reinvent the broken wheel. And, in the business world, there are standards, generally accepted accounting principles that look deeper into a company's finances and their business processes. And so when we talk about an audit, it's all about the money, the currency, the flow of money, where it is, where it come from, and where to go. And then in the end, everything has to balance out. It's kind of a zero-sum game. There can't be anything missing. And for many athletes, that currency is measured in precious metals, gold, silver, and bronze. So our performance is our currency, and a better measurement is that our energy is our currency, because it's got to balance out. You can't have missing energy. When you go into a deficit of energy, that's called illness, injury, burnout, and quitting your sport. All right, so what are these generally accepted accounting principles, and why do we care? Well, this is a huge thing. This is a big part of every business in this world. These are the fundamentals by which they run their business. It creates the foundation they operate from, and we can use those. We can tap into the same structure to tap into our performance. And you can see a couple of these categories here. An audit is a big part of a business's inner workings. And then we can break down into our assets, our liabilities, and then compliance is another big one. How well a corporation or a business complies with generally accepted accounting principles, and these are often the laws of their individual states or county or federal government. So what exactly is an audit? Here's just a definition: an evaluation of a person, organization, system, process, enterprise, project, or product. So let's take a look at some of the laws or the principles of conducting an audit. And we start out by comparing our assets versus our liabilities. So assets, what we own, what's positive, what helps us, and liabilities, what we owe, and typically, the negative part of the balance sheet. So this is a simple process that you can start. You can start doing this in your own life. It just takes a piece of paper and a pencil, and you start writing down all the assets in your life. And this is very important because our brains are drawn more to the negatives and the liabilities and all the problems in your life and in the world. So you have to you have to make a focused effort to identify all the assets in your life. And so writing down everything in your life that's beneficial, particularly to your health, your fitness, and your athletic performance. And then at the same time, look at the liabilities in your life and write those out. And those can be people, places, things. We have a list here. And you want to shine a big, bright light on both these categories. Very important that you identify all the assets in your life, and then also identify all the liabilities in your life, because that's what we're going to aim to get rid of. And you can break down these categories. The original science article I posted at the beginning goes far in depth into all the different categories that you can inspect and look at and that you can audit. And here's just a few: your personal health, what kind of support you have, your relationships, your coaching, your equipment, competition, your training environment, the time you have, the finances you have. And so the list is really almost endless. And conducting an audit is really a defining characteristic of world champion athletes. I think it's one of those things that really sets them apart, because we can talk through all this. We can talk about doing all these things and these ideas, and a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I know my assets, my liabilities." But until you open the vault and look inside and write it down, you haven't touched the surface on the potential that lies in identifying these things that are really helping you and the things that are really hurting you. So identifying our assets fits under this category. This journal article here, big journal article, Journal of Applied Sports Psychology. Take a look at this one. This attitude of gratitude idea, identifying all the good stuff in your life, being thankful for that expression of gratitude. And that can be as simple as taking out a piece of paper and a pencil and writing down all the good things in your life. And this goes a long ways. So we're strengthening those neural networks around the assets and positive things in our life. Because once again, our brains are wired to pay attention to the negativity, to all the bad things in the world, all the bad things in our life, and focus on the terrible and all the liabilities. And so it's an active process to take yourself out of that mode, but it works. And you can see that there's countless research on this. And this is one of the latest big articles if you want to take a look at the scientific information, the backing behind this. And all you need is a tablet and a pen. And why'd you put the stupid T in there? It's not a spiritual journey. That's stupid. That's why people turn it off. Anyway, these audits do not have to have a cup of tea. They're very black and white. You just write down and you just start writing. And that's the key thing. You open and start writing and identify your assets and your liabilities. Yeah, so black and white. Start writing. It's an active process. And when you do that, you're literally rewiring your brain. Because again, we're all drawn to the bad in our lives and the fear and you know, your body gets flooded with anti-performance chemicals when you do that. Cortisol, stress hormones. But when we do this reprograms our mind and it pulls us out of the sewer. And and you can see no cup of tea. But it certainly is okay if you want to have a cup of tea. So here's the things we need to get rid of. Liabilities. A person or thing whose presence or behavior is likely to cause embarrassment or put one at a disadvantage. What could be worse for an athlete? Yeah, I like this little meter because, you know, we all have, countless problems in our life. But then they become dangerous. They become a risk. But then a liability is when it's really fixed and stuck in your life. And here's where you really have to take action to get rid of it. Yeah, so once again, when we're investigating assets and liabilities, same thing. It's just like, what are the nouns? Person, place, or thing in your life. So if we use this as an example, we identify these assets and liabilities, we would drink the water. You put the water bottle instead of the tea. Great. Drink the water, smell the flower, throw the phone and the burger and the cat in the box and throw it in the trash. Not the cat. Finally, black and white, a piece of paper and a pencil. That's all you need to sit down and start writing. Because when we do that and when you look really deeply, take your time, sit down, think deeply, think through the problems in your life, think through these liabilities. And this is where we start shining a big bright light on all the rats in our life. Okay, and our last category we'll look at is compliance. And compliance, are you compliant with what you want to do? When you look at the area of compliance, it can be broken down into standards, rules, requirements, laws, a variety of other categories, but these are some of the basics. So when you think about compliance, you're really looking deep inside and seeing if you're living up to what you want to do and how you want to do it. And so the problem is most athletes, when I talk to them and ask them, like, what are your standards? What are the rules you live by? And usually it's like deer in the headlights. It's, So again, this is an active process. You have to do it. You have to write it down, put it on paper, and identify. And, if you don't have any rules or laws, follow the 101 laws of the World Champion Standard. That's a good starting point. And so when we talk about compliance in your program, we would go back and take a look. You had a goal, you had a plan, and you took action. And then you go back and see, did you actually do it? Are you executing the plan? Did you take those actions? And again, write it down. Handwriting is very beneficial. You're literally rewiring neural circuits in your brain and focusing on those, performance-based ones, focusing on the assets, eliminating the liabilities, and writing all this down creates those neural networks, strengthens those to improve your performance. And this is legit. I'm not making this up. Here's a big systematic review, looking at the comparison of handwriting versus typing, and handwriting, wins the battle. Okay, I'm going to summarize that research paper for you. Handwriting activates a broader network of brain regions involved in motor, sensory, and cognitive processing, contributing to deeper learning, enhanced memory retention, and more effective engagement with written material. So the bottom line, it works. And, again, you just have to do it. Okay, a couple final words. Once again, you just got to write it down. How often? Every day? Once a week? Once a month? Those are all good. Probably more than once a year. And, identifying the good and the bad in your life brings those to the forefront. It takes you off of watching funny videos on the internet all day or playing video games all day. So it really drives your brain deeper into things that are really helping you and things that are hurting you. And of course, the next step would be to create a plan around those. So when we look at our assets, take each one of those assets and see how you can protect that, how you can grow it, how you can nurture those relationships that really support you. And then the same thing with the liabilities. Go through each of your liabilities. Think through those and create strategies. Create a plan on how to get rid of those or to minimize those. And once again, it's the act of writing that rewires our brain. So, a lot of people have journaling, a lot of people don't. And so this is one thing, if you like journaling, keep a journal, follow it along, write in your diary, whatever you want to do, that's great. If you're not into that, just take this piece of paper you wrote, crumble it up and throw it in the trash. It might be good to hold on to it for a day or two and review it. But once again, it's the process of writing these things down is the most beneficial part. So, don't be turned off about this idea of writing down your thoughts, a lot of times your feelings, identifying those assets, identifying those liabilities, reviewing your compliance and whether or not you're sticking to your plan. And then ultimately the next step is create a plan for improving what's good in your life and getting rid of what's bad in your life.